Hey, welcome everybody. Thanks for being with us today. Today I have Amy Bagnall of Rattlebox Marketing. Welcome, Amy.
Thank you. Thank you. So nice to be here, Tim. Thank you.
You bet. I appreciate you taking the time. Hey, I know a little bit about your background, but would you mind just sharing some of your background for folks who don't know you, kind of how you came to where you are today?
Sure, absolutely. Well, my background is truly a passion about how people make decisions to purchase things. I think that it is one of the things that's always driven me. Is it an emotional buy? Is it because you really need that product, or you just really like the ad you saw on television? I formulated my own company, Rattlebox, after decades of work in advertising agencies, in marketing departments, in corporations, and even running my own business in a financial services industry. Rattlebox was something that I felt passionate about. And for those who are interested, a rattlebox is actually a plant which grows and in the fall produces a seed pod that rattles, which ties into the idea that we can grow your business. And when the fall comes and it's time to harvest, those seeds will be there to plant and grow your business as you move into the following spring. And I'm a passionate gardener. And so Rattlebox just rang true to what it is I do for my clients.
Yeah, that's great. I appreciate you sharing that. That was next on my list to ask that because again, you and I have talked. I know the history of that. I think it's cool. So,
Thank you.
so as an aside, I know this isn't on topic as such, but what are you doing with your gardening at this point? Are you being able to keep that up?
Yes, I am. So because I've been gardening for so long, I picked it up from my family, my aunts, my mom. A lot of the plants that I have are perennials, which mean they come back year after year, or I work hard to find plants that reseed themselves. So I've had tulips coming up and grape hyacinths, and I've got other plants that are starting to come up, iris in particular. I think the tough
Ah,
thing right now is that we had a little bit of a freeze last night. So I noticed that my tulips were a little droopy this morning, which is unfortunate, but it's part of the process. And it's a lesson, I think, to folks as we move through any kind of marketing plan. Sometimes you work and it's great and you get the response you need. And sometimes you've got to test things and you find out maybe that didn't work as well as you thought. And so you go back to the drawing board and start again.
that's cool. I love when there are kind of those organic life lessons that you can apply to business. I really appreciate your take on that.
Sure.
Say, I'm curious, have things changed? I know my guess is you've done a fair amount of work on an ongoing basis remotely. So how much have things changed for you because of COVID-19?
So I work from my home office. So I'm very familiar with working remotely, if you will. And that's a help because it would be a big, jarring awake call if I suddenly moved from an office into my home office. I think the biggest change is my networking ability is limited to video conference calls now, telephone calls, some emails. And that's okay, and those work. But if you're an extrovert like I am, it is a little bit more of a challenge not to be able to get out and shake hands and have a glass of wine and meet people in person. It makes such a big difference. Tim, you and I met that way, and it's just one of those things I miss, but I'm also very familiar with the home office. I did have to do a little tidying to my background so that when
That's
I do
great.
meet with clients, right, that it looks okay in the back, because it is funny how you don't pay attention to that when you're not working and everyone's working in a social distancing type mode.
It's interesting, isn't it? It seems to me, and I've had several of these discussions, as you know, with folks, but it seems to me that they're both challenges and opportunities because we're staying at home. You know,
Yes.
this is something I had never considered doing before. I was kind of like you. I enjoyed the face-to-face, sit down like we did over a cup of coffee, get to know each other. So this was brand new for me, you know. And folks, and it's interesting. Folks assume because I do video work that I'm all tapped into this sort of stuff. This was all brand new to me. I hadn't done this sort of stuff before, so it was a real learning curve for me.
Right. Interesting. Interesting.
So I'm curious, in terms of the clients that you work with, what are some of the challenges they're facing at this point because of COVID-19 in terms of consistent messaging, staying in touch with their clientele, that sort of thing? And what advice are you giving those folks?
So, for the most part, my clients are weathering the storm rather successfully. They're led by teams that recognize the importance of consistent communication, not messaging that necessarily sells product, but that lets their customers know, hey, we're paying attention. We know you may be going through some stress or challenges right now. So, for me, that's a benefit because I'm in the back end helping them communicate in such a way that their messages offer a distraction or some education or maybe something a little more fun to read than whatever the latest news data is about how COVID is changing our landscape and the medical community is so stressed. The thing that for me is if I have clients that are out there trying to market, it's a very careful message. It's vetting and making sure that you're aware there are some people that are working, they're essential, there are some people working from home, and there are others who have been furloughed or have completely lost their job. And now is not the time to stick a buy me message out there. Now is a time to remain prevalent, remain out there, but in a very careful message so that when we get past this and we can get it behind us, those clients will be better remembered. In much the same way that I talk to clients when we go through a recession. You want to be remembered. Messaging is important.
So it's a consistent level of messaging. Has their method of messaging changed any? Is it more prevalent that it's email, it's video chats, Zoom chats, direct mail? What have you seen with that?
So many of my clients already were working almost exclusively through emails or phone conversations. Some of them may pick up the video conference, but not very many of them. So it has not changed their messaging as much. And that consistency, what has changed is the content within that message. It's not as big a push to, hey, now's the time to buy life insurance, for example. It's more a message of, hey, we're here with you and we're working and we're here to answer your questions. And you just need to dial this number and a member of customer service will be here to respond to you. That type of thing. It sends a message of we're here to help versus we're here to sell. And that's important right now.
Well, yeah, that's terrific. So it sounds to me like you're saying that's a potential pitfall. That's a potential trap for folks. And you kind of keep them on the straight and narrow, but it could be a real downfall for companies if they're too direct in their sales, direct marketing at this point in time.
I think you have to it's not that you can't sell. People are selling. I've seen it. I think you just have to be aware and consider how that is relevant to the folks you're messaging to. So one of my clients right now is promoting an insurance policy that provides some savings because she recognizes, having been in the industry for 10 plus years, that the prices are going up. And that's impacting folks in their bottom dollar, right? They're watching their 401k dwindle and they're wondering what they're going to do. And so this particular client says, hey, I've got an opportunity for you to at least consider some options that may save you some money. That's a message that's relevant to communities right now who are concerned about their budgets and their overall long-term financial health. So in that case, it works to sell.
Oh, very cool. Hey, I'm curious, Amy, do you get into any working with any clients of a bit larger companies in terms of communication, internal communication to employees who may have been impacted by COVID-19?
You know, that is not something that I've been privy to. I do work with a rather large organization, has some 70 employees, many of which are working remotely now, but I have not been privy to their internal communication.
Okay, all right. I asked because it seems like you've got a really good philosophy, a really good handle on things now in terms of communication. So fingers crossed somebody will reach out to you to have you do that, because I think you'd be really good at that.
Thank you, Tim. I just think it's so important that people are just reminded that now's a great time. If messaging isn't right for you, now's a great time to step back and think, what have I done well in this time last year? What was I doing well? What can I repeat once we get past this? What have I not been doing that I should be doing? Is it my blog? Should I be re-looking at my social media strategic calendar? Should I be emailing customers just to say, hey, I'm here and here to help if you need any help, just to kind of let them know you're around. These are things that we should all be doing in the midst of what's happening right now, because we are in the midst of I think they're calling it the great pause. And it's true. All of us are rethinking, how do we move forward? And some of us will take some of those things that we're doing now and continue to do them after we get past this. And others will probably completely forget what they did and move on as though nothing happened for
Back,
however
back,
many months that we're
absolutely back to life as normal, right?
right,
All
right.
these great new habits just got to be discarded. Yeah.
Exactly.
Hey, I'm curious, kind of as we wrap up here, as we can come to the end of our discussion here, what are there things that you are doing specifically for yourself in terms of communication, staying focused, that sort of thing? Again, it doesn't sound like it's been as major a change for you because you were used to working at home. But what are you doing to stay focused and continue to communicate to your clients and to the broader audience?
Right. So I continue to hold meetings on a weekly basis. It's kind of funny, I call it my team meetings, but I make sure that I am checking off all the boxes with the clients that I have so that we are meeting the needs that they have. The other is recognizing some of the things that I'm sharing with my clients they should be doing. Looking at my blogs, recognizing where I can be more active on social media, where can I help lay a foundation that allows people to say, oh, I can continue to do this type of messaging and it won't be perceived as taking advantage of the current situation. And it's also reaching out to clients and prospects and letting them know that, hey, I don't know what you're doing today, but it might be a great time for us to readdress something you have not been interested in doing because you were too busy before. And that just allows them to know you're here. It allows me to share and communicate with these folks in a way that previously they'd been too busy to answer an email, or maybe they wouldn't answer a phone call. And in fact, some folks are reaching out saying we could use someone to do a videotape, for example, of how to do Facebook Live videos, because there are people out there interested in doing that right now. And guess what? People are looking at Facebook more often now than they were, particularly from their desktop computers as opposed to their phones. So it's just
Yeah, it's really
interesting.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's interesting because I've heard other folks say that, yes, now is a critical time, a real opportunity to build those bridges to the future, because folks do have that time. We all have more time on our hands now. And
Yes.
just as you're saying, even though folks may not be in the market to do something immediately, great time to kind of tweak those relationships and build those bridges.
I completely agree. And in the end, I really do believe that if you do it right, if you consider the message and consider who it is you're talking to, those folks are going to remember you once we're past this. And that's probably the most critical. When they remember you, they're going to give you a call, because guess what? Good times are going to come back. We're going to weather this storm. It's just a matter of when. And so take advantage of the time we have now as we pause and move forward in a very good way.
Fantastic. Amy, thank you so much for being here today and sharing your insights.
Tim, thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity. You take care.
Talk soon.
Bye-bye.